Hopkins is washed. I'm not going to say that on podcast, though, because I don't want a Cooper Cup scenario where then he goes out and wins Super Bowl MVP.
Tua. He's willing to play the odds. I'm kind of tired. I mean, why are we making Tua sound like he's Willis Reed?
I think your offense is much better with him, so I think it's going to help you that he's back. However, I think it's ridiculous that he's not wearing the Guardian cap. I mean, it makes no sense to me. I don't understand why anyone wouldn't wear the Guardian cap. I mean, you see what happened to, like, Antonio Brown and guys like that.
Right.
Like, if I were an NFL player, which I'm most definitely not, I would be throwing on the Guardian cap. Probably because I'd be getting blown up either way. It doesn't matter what helmet I'm wearing.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Drumroll, please. Zach and EJ Talk Sports. I am EJ. This is Zach, and this is episode 23, the Trey Mann episode. Drop a Trey Mann fact on me.
He's from Gainesville.
Beautiful. Today we're going to be talking some NFL, talking my favorite topic, fantasy football. And I see you're wearing your Celtics champ shirt.
I am, yeah.
So why don't we kick off today with talking a little bit about the NBA, your thoughts on the start of the NBA season, and kind of where you see things heading.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously I'll start by talking about the Celtics. I think they're still far and away the best team in basketball. I think they walked away with the championship last year with not very much difficulty, and I don't think we were playing our best basketball. Jayson Tatum, who they love to slander him, he was really good, but he was not at his best. Porzingis was hurt for most of the playoffs. And I always say this to Knicks fans who are talking about all injuries killed our season. Jayson Tatum hurt his ankle in the first round on a dirty Bam Adebayo play. You don't hear anyone saying, "Oh well, Tatum was hurt." I mean, everyone has injuries. It's a part of basketball. I think if we're healthy, even if we're not healthy, I think 1 through 7, 1 through 8, we're just that elite. I think our bench could probably make the playoffs. So the Celtics are in a good spot. Tatum obviously looks amazing.
I have a question on Tatum.
Yeah.
So, obviously, through the Celtics lineage, they have had, major, star power, major NBA star power, right? What do you feel it is about Tatum that he doesn't seem to garner that public appeal of, being, one of the faces of the NBA? So, maybe two parts. What is it about Tatum that you think specifically why he's not getting that type of attention, amongst, say, the casual fan? And then second, what do you think the new attributes of that type of player are? Do you feel that's changed over time? Meaning, remember in baseball, they came out that phrase for a while, and, it's really, probably not even super PC to say now, where they used to come out and say, "Chicks dig the long ball." When they were trying to rebrand baseball, they were like, "Chicks dig the long ball." And it was guys like, McGuire and Sosa and all these jacked up dudes who became the face of Major League Baseball at that time. If we're talking about the NBA, we've gone through several periods where we could look at different strategies in marketing. But looking at things right now, the two-parter, what is it about Tatum you think is not being accepted, and then what do you think is being accepted by the casual fan?
So I think the thing about Tatum is he should be accepted as one of these guys because he is one of those guys. First team All-NBA the last 3 seasons. So for the last 3 seasons, he's been one of the 5 best players in basketball. If I asked someone name the 5 best players in basketball, most of them wouldn't say Jayson Tatum. And a few of the reasons are, number one, the media. Because the media, on the casual fan, the media has a large influence. The media is not like Jayson Tatum. They've been saying bad things about Jayson Tatum. So these people aren't hearing Jayson Tatum, and they don't realize what's happening with Jayson Tatum. Another thing is, I don't necessarily think a lot of these people who are talking about Jayson Tatum, I don't think they watch the Celtics, which is understandable. If the Celtics aren't your team, you're not going to watch every Celtics game. I watch pretty much every Celtics game.
The Celtics are a major market team.
Yeah, so they're on national TV a lot.
Yeah.
And I think another thing is people don't really understand that basketball is more than scoring. So kind of following into that next question, I think they like to see these people average 30, putting up 35, 40 bombs, shooting 35 times a game. And there was a season Tatum averaged 30, and he's probably going to average maybe 30 this season. But he's not forcing shots. He's not taking 35 shots a game. That's because I'm going to go back and reference Isaiah Thomas is talking about the secret to basketball. Old Isaiah Thomas, not the Celtic Isaiah Thomas. It's about winning basketball. It's not about having scoring, about egos, having a bunch of people who mesh together and understand about sacrifice. And Jayson Tatum, the last season, when all these players came in, we're like, okay, we're going to win a championship. he sacrificed the most because he sacrificed every game he wasn't going to be the guy. There was going to be other games where other people were the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, people kind of just brush him under the rug. Also, I think people genuinely just don't like Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And through that, they don't like Jayson Tatum. They've convinced themselves that Jayson Tatum's this bad dude. They say, oh, Jayson Tatum's corny, which he may or may not be, but I don't really think that matters. I think they're very hypnotized by, like, the sound bit.
Right.
Like the Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is going to give you a cool quote. You know what Anthony Edwards isn't going to do? The same amount on a basketball court that Jayson Tatum is. And similarly to that, everyone, if you ask them the faces of basketball, they probably say Jokic, deserving. They probably say Giannis or Curry still, who I can't say anything bad about those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most people would say Luka. And I'm not just going to come here and slander Luka Doncic. I think he's a very good player. Jayson Tatum is a better player than him. And I'm not even going to talk about how Jayson Tatum just beat him 4-1 in the finals. So people say, oh, Tatum had a better team, which is a ridiculous argument. But Jayson Tatum is better than him because scoring-wise, yes, Luka Doncic is a good scorer. Jayson Tatum is maybe a little worse, but pretty much equally as good of a scorer. In the fourth quarter in the finals, I am going to go to the finals, Luka Doncic couldn't score.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he was having plenty of points in the first 3 quarters. When it mattered, he couldn't score. I'm not saying Jayson Tatum could. Jayson Tatum couldn't shoot the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Closeout game, he was amazing, but then I look at the defensive end. Throughout that entire finals, and I hadn't watched that much Luka, so I had been kind of influenced of what I had heard about Luka, how great he is. Luka is so bad defensively. It's genuinely like you were out there. He doesn't know what's happening. He's not trying to know what's happening. No effort.
Defense, man.
He was getting blown by every play.
I would give effort.
And Jayson Tatum is an amazing defender, both on the interior and on the perimeter. And then everyone will talk about Luka's passing, which Luka has very flashy passes. Do you know how many points a flashy pass 3 counts for?
No.
It counts for 3. Not any more than me chest passing it to the guy. Jayson Tatum's also a really good passer. And I think Jayson Tatum, more so than Luka Doncic, actually makes his teammates better. Because Luka's assists, you're just catching and you're shooting it. He's not really getting the offense running. And I'm not saying Jayson Tatum's the only one doing that, because Derek White gets the offense running. Jaylen Brown, but everyone in the Celtics does that. I think Jayson Tatum, and I feel like I kind of turned this into just Jayson Tatum versus Luka, but I think he's not much better than him, but I think he's better than him. And I think that's kind of funny, because if you asked everyone who are the best players in basketball, who's the face of basketball, they'd say Luka, and I don't think many people would say Tatum.
So, are we moving in sports to an era where we're favoring me first players and team guys, or guys that are more inclined to do the little things or sacrifice, a big stat line for wins, are guys that don't seem to get as much of the attention? When we're in the era now of NILs and everything else, how much right now would you say, or what percentage of the NBA teams right now, in your opinion, would you say are playing true team basketball?
Team basketball. So, kind of going back to the secret to winning thing, secret to basketball, I was talking about earlier. There's a certain model that you need to have to team basketball, and the players need to understand this model. So, generally, the model is a star player, but an unselfish star player, not a Wilt, a Bill Russell. Yeah, now I'm just slandering Wilt, but that felt unnecessary. Then you need to have a secondary scorer. Then you need to have shooters. Everyone has to space. Everyone has to know their role. Everyone has to defend. It doesn't sound that hard, and everyone has to be willing to sacrifice their personal gains for a championship. You don't need to know this secret to win 1 championship, but to win 2, you probably do. Because after 1 championship, everyone's going to want their money. They're going to get all this money. They're going to get paid deservingly for winning the championship. And they're going to say, now I'm getting paid all this money, I should be scoring 25 a game. And then they're going to be thinking more about themselves than the actual prospect. It doesn't matter how well you play if your team wins. So on that same thing, the Celtics, obviously, I think still follow that principle. I don't see that happening to any of our guys after the championship. And then it's difficult. Team basketball is hard. I think the Thunder are playing team basketball. I think the Thunder are really well built. I think Shea understands that while he is the star player, it's not all about him. I think everyone there is defending. Everyone there is, to an extent, shooting. And another thing is the teammates have to like each other. You can't have if you assemble the 5 best players in the world and they don't like each other at all. I'm not gonna say they might not win a champion. They probably would win one, but I don't think they're gonna keep winning because eventually, like Shaq and Kobe thing, there's gonna be a rift. And so I think those are the major aspects. So right now, I'm off the top of my head, Celtics and Thunder. Trying to think. I don't hate what the Wolves are doing. I think they're playing some. I think Ant is very cocky and he talks a lot of talk, but I think he's a very good teammate. I think he defends to the best of his ability. So I'm gonna say those 3. I don't think I can think of anyone else who I'm really saying is like playing great team basketball.
Right. Because, I mean, to me, like, even if we're looking at the situation in Los Angeles with LeBron and Bronny James, and whatever anybody's opinion is on the potential or the talent level of Bronny, I mean, it's pretty much fair to say that there's players already in the Lakers organization that are probably worthy of the spot on the roster that he is taking. And if, for example, you're giving that roster spot to Bronny, which is the Lakers' right to do because it's it's their team, they can do whatever they want. They can put me and you on the bench. But really, then, can you make the argument that it's a team first decision? That you're saying we're putting the best team we can on the floor, or are we appeasing star players or doing things that might be ratings grabs or headline grabs? And I understand all that because, while we love sports and we want to see just the true competitiveness of it, it's also a business. There's also a marketing side to things. And I think the reason that this question popped up, and we put it under the context of basketball, but we're seeing it now in football as well. And I'd love to know your thoughts. So Romeo Doubs, wide receiver for the Packers, he basically sat out a couple weeks ago, which then led to him basically getting benched and suspended for a game because of his attitude. And his whole point was, hey, look, we come into this league, I don't feel I'm being utilized to the best of my ability, so I'm angry at the team. Okay. Now, we might have opinions on that, like his attitude with that. Like, hey, look, you're being paid by the team. If they want you to, be the punter, you need to go out there and punt. Like, whatever it is, you're being paid to do a job, go do it.
Yeah.
That's one mindset. That might be, what people now call an old school mindset, a blue collar mindset, whatever it might be. But he turns around, his thought is, okay, I come into the league and we all come in and we're signed as rookies to these 4-year deals, right? Which now the term in NFL is first contract, right? And your big contract, the one that sets your family up and everything else, is your second contract. So if he feels that he is closing in on the end of his first contract and he's not putting up what he considers to be his full value, showing the league his value so that he can then turn around during his second contract and command the dollars that he feels he's worth. Where do you stand on what he's doing? Because basically what he's saying is, I need to put me, my future, my family, and my next contract ahead of what's going on right now with this team. And if I'm being hidden in a bushel of 3 or 4 other really talented receivers, and I'm not getting my touches, or I want X amount of touches, kind of same thing, same attitude T. Higgins had, we see these guys and coming towards the end of their rookie deal, and they either want more touches, they want to renegotiate quicker. What are your thoughts on that? Is that a decision what Doubs is saying that you can get behind, or do you take issue with what he's saying?
I can't get behind that decision, and there's other reasons. But first of all, I think a main reason to me is, yes, you want to make as much money as you possibly can. You want to maximize your value. We're talking about the difference between, let's say, if there's a $75 million difference. $75 million is a lot of money. But if he's being paid, if it's 25 or 100, we're talking like 25 millions is a bunch of pennies. It's really not. So I don't really think it matters as much as it is blown up to be. Like a few years ago when the Patriots let Jacoby Myers walk over $1 million. I guess the $1 million was so valuable to them where they didn't want to give it one more. But I think, $1 million is a lot of money. I think, but it kind of gets blown out of context with how much money these people are making, that even the not so great players with the not massive contracts are making a bunch of money.
Yeah.
But also on the Romeo Doubs side, I don't think So I guess GMs are going to look at the stats and say, oh, this guy's so good. But there's more things that go into that than your actual, like, how much you're getting the ball. I think if he's known to be a bad locker room guy after this or whatever, I don't think that's going to help his payday.
Right.
Like Adonai Mitchell, who got drafted by the Colts, he dropped in the draft because apparently he was a terrible locker room guy. I can't confirm or deny it, but that was the rumor and no one wanted to draft him. Also, I think all you really can do is play to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
When you do get the ball, you got to maximize every target. You got to get as many yards as you can after the catch.
Right.
I think, and Romeo Doubs was having a really good year. That was a weird thing going into this. He wasn't having a bad year.
Yep.
He was having a good. So I can't, because then the other guys on the team were saying, why can't we do that? And then it's kind of against. It's none of their. They can't decide how much they're getting the ball. That's between the coach and the quarterback.
Right.
Who's getting the ball?
Now here's another. So, and let me pivot this because I'm really enjoying this conversation. And if we look at, say, for example, the way the Giants handled Saquon, okay. But before I pose that question, the question prior to that is going to be, while we're looking at the players and we're talking about the players wanting that contract or being locker room guys or not being locker room guys, what level of culpability, what level of responsibility do we place on the new generation of GMs that are almost all kind of following like the Belichickian model of, hey, we're better off being 1 year too early on guys than being too late, and kind of treating their side of it with the players like it's just a business. Hey, we're going to release you. It's a business. It's the nature of the business, the nature of the business, the nature of the business. So if a player turns around and says, hey, this organization that I played for a while, if I'm a running back and statistics show that, the running backs have a 7-year shelf life. And I'm on,
probably.
Yeah, exactly. I'm on year 5 and I've been this team's star running back, top draft pick and giving this organization everything I have. And now I'm looking, it's time for me to re-sign. I'm still in the prime of my career. And I want the money that, represents that. Like a situation like maybe Saquon. And the Giants turn around and are like, we're going to let you go test the market. Like, see you later.
And then they did not. Yeah.
So if we're talking about the fact that, athletes are athletes, they're not businessmen. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I could, like, how great would you be at separating that? If I came to you and said, hey, Zach, listen, I'm replacing you here at this podcast with somebody that, is a little quicker with this or that, or a little younger now, or, whatever. And hey, it's nothing personal. It's just business. This is podcast and business right now. Or you told me, hey, listen, I'm getting your dusty ass out of here. And we're going to get somebody that's a little smarter and sharper and a little more athletic in the seat. How am I not going to take that personally? I mean, in one hand, we can understand, right? We can say, okay, the rationalization of it, I get it. I understand it's a business. But yet, dude, it is personal. Like, especially if you're getting cut open in the off season and you're getting surgeries for an organization, then they turn and kind of do you like that?
It's a very slippery slope.
Right.
Because I think I've said this multiple times. I don't dislike anything less than players requesting trades.
Right.
If I were a GM, I'd say you can't tell me to trade you. I'm paying you. You're on my team. If I want to trade you, I'll trade you. If you don't want to play, then you're not playing, I guess.
Right.
But at the same time, I would say that as a person coming from a high moral standing. So if I was saying that I'm not going to be the kind of guy who's going to give up on a player who's given everything to my team.
Yeah.
So we'll use an NFL example and then I'll go to the NBA. For example, Justin Simmons, the most recent offseason, got released after he gave everything to the Broncos.
Right.
And this happens for a lot of players. They just get released. And they're like, we appreciate everything you've done for you. We just can't take the financial burden. And that's my other thing. I understand the cap is tight. I understand it's a money thing. But as an organization, at some point you got to say, this person, as long as they want to be on our team, they can be on our team. Because, and if they want their money, we're going to give them their money. Because when you start like playing the money game over who is produced for my team, who has been Aaron Jones this offseason, Joe Mixon, these guys who are actually still playing really good right now, and their team just let them walk because they were getting older after everything they did for that organization. So I think I don't like what the players are doing. I don't like what the teams are doing. I think they should be more And it's hard for me to say because I'm not the one
Mm-hmm.
who's spending $100 million a year on this sports team, and I need to make profit.
Yeah.
And I can't go over the salary cap.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there has to be more loyalty from the teams, and the players have to understand that they're not necessarily in charge. And I feel the same way when I go back to basketball. Everyone talks about Kevin Durant being a snake. And was he a snake? Probably. Was it not great that he joined Golden State? I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I defend his decision totally to join Golden State. But at the end of the day, it's his decision. Because of these teams, pretty much the same offseason as the offseason before, Isaiah Thomas with the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
This man went out there, played through a back, which ended up pretty much ending his career. The doctors were actually lying to him about his back, but he went out there through all the pain. His sister passed away. He still went out and played there. He did everything for Boston.
Right.
In the next offseason, they said, you know what, you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
They just traded him. And that was all it was. There was never any like, oh, we want to keep him around. And they didn't trade him because they wanted Kyrie Irving. There's no question.
Yeah.
But and I stand by this. I'm not a Danny Ainge guy. Danny Ainge knew the injury was worse than it was led on to be, and he said we're gonna get something for him while we can. We're not gonna keep the guy who just did everything he could for the city. The city loves him. He loves the city. He almost just brought us to the finals on a terrible back against LeBron James, and they didn't think about any of that. They said we're gonna bring in Kyrie Irving, and Kyrie Irving, great player. I don't know if I'll argue here and say that Isaiah Thomas was at any point better than Kyrie Irving. He might have been. I think Isaiah Thomas was amazing that last year in Boston. But Kyrie Irving never really wanted to be. It didn't seem like he wanted to be here. And the media treated him poorly. The media's treated him poorly every stop of the way throughout his career, except for Dallas seems to be treating him better now. But I think there has to be some loyalty, and I think when you don't show that loyalty, sometimes it comes back to bite you.
All right, let me ask you something, because I have to say that I'm actually shocked in my own transformation over the years. And maybe it's because, when I look back at my athletic career and, my family structure with, the way that sports were viewed, it was that like super hard-nosed blue collar, you keep your head down, you work hard, you're the team guy, you're whatever it is, and you don't complain, you do what your coach tells you and whatever. And then it became, oh, look at these whining athletes. They're making millions and millions of dollars and they're complaining about this and that and this. So let me give you a scenario. Now, obviously, it'll take you all of 3 seconds to figure out what NFL player I'm putting you in his shoes. But okay, I'm a coach of an organization that just a new hire, my first year there. I'm coming over from a winning organization to lead a team, and the team was almost a playoff team. You're a wide receiver on another team that's had, a decade-long success, good organizational structure, but it's been made clear to you that probably your time there is up and you're about to be a free agent. One of your former quarterbacks is my quarterback. I come to you, I pitch you my system. I'm like, I come from winning. This team I want you to come to, we are not that far off. We're in good shape. You got your old buddy from college as a quarterback who's giving you the full court press to come to. We're moving to a new city. It's all going to be good. New energy, new juice. And by the way, we're going to pay you a lot of money. So you come over. Like, I am basically immediately fired. Like, I'm out. While that's going on, okay, your quarterback that you were with is now benched and essentially run out of town.
Yeah.
A whole new regime is in that is, and we're not going to pretend. So I'm just going to make this our own little unique story because I can't claim to have insight into any of that. But now your utilization is going to be different. The people throwing you the ball is different. The scheming is different. Maybe even you're noticing a different attitude because so you're coming from a winning organization around winning people, and now say you find yourself in an organization where you're like, this is not a winning culture. Now, what is your opinion at that point? And you're saying to yourself, I'm at the back end of, the prime of my career now, maybe 1 or 2 good solid years left at prime career dollar and value and amongst the league. Are you going to ride that out with, say, for example, playing in an organization like the Panthers or the Raiders with no end in sight? Or are you, if the opportunity came for you to go to the organization, say, hey, listen, get me out of here. What would be your viewpoint on that?
So I'm gonna kind of reveal the curtain here. I assume you're talking about Devontae Adams,
100%.
and I have no issue with his move to the Raiders, and I have no issue with Devontae Adams be traded from the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
I have no issue. I have slight issue that he was like, put me on the Jets. That I don't love. Though I guess there was other teams involved allegedly.
Right.
And I think it actually makes sense for the Raiders to trade Devontae Adams. They weren't winning this year.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do not like how he handled it. So I think there's two sides of the coin. I'm not here arguing that players have to stay with the team through thick and thin when they have a few years left and they want to maximize their window of winning.
Right.
I'm not saying that. But I'm saying you have to handle it well. I don't want you at the beginning of the season, like Devontae Adams did, saying, I'm a Raider. I want to be a Raider. And then 3 or 4 weeks later, want totally out of the system.
Right.
So I just be honest with your word. If you want out, tell me you want out. Don't be saying, "Oh, I want to be here. I want this." Don't be making these promises you can't keep. You can want out, but don't be. What he did is he just gave up on the system.
Mm-hmm.
He essentially, and Antonio Pierce said this, there was a shift in him.
Mm-hmm.
He essentially was like, I'm done with this town. I'm done with this this team. Get me on another team. That's not how it should be. It should be, I would like to be on another team. It should be a joint process. And really, I think he took a lot of power that I don't think players should have, where he was kind of just like, I don't like the argument of a player requesting a trade and saying, I won't play if I'm not traded.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't like, because I don't think it's good for the player.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if I'm the team, I've always said this, I'm saying you can sit on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
I'll trade you when I want to trade you. But if they're asking to be traded and they continue to play and they play hard, I have no issue with it. But with Devontae Adams, he wanted to be traded, and he had an injury.
Mm-hmm.
He was hurt, apparently. He got traded. He was already in New York when the trade broke. He was Aaron Rodgers' apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So he already knew where he was going. And then suddenly he's healthy for the next week. I can't defend that. I think if you're healthy, I don't care if you don't want to be here. Your job is to play for this team. You have to go out there and you have to play for this team.
Yeah. So basically, there's two things, and we could have, because we're getting into some good stuff, but we could turn this into a 9-hour podcast. And the two things that immediately come to mind, one of them is it's gonna be a comment from me, a statement, but the second is a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So the comment that I have is this: the NFL or a lot of these sports leagues are gonna run into a very, very, very dangerous situation, because even ESPN now has their own sports and betting app. So all these major sports organizations are getting into bed with either these bigger gambling apps, or even their own private affiliations with casinos and things like that. So when we start seeing the teams and the leagues themselves directly involved in gambling, there has to be something, right, that makes us feel like the integrity of the game is being preserved. So when you see that play last night, and for everybody, we're talking about the Vikings and the Rams. We're coming to you the day after, and you see that play where Sam Darnold clearly was taken down by his face mask in the end zone, safetied, which has impacts on point spread, which has impacts on the outcome of the game. When you have this looming cloud of sports betting and gambling and the league's open affiliations with it, how do we know? So there needs to be things, right, that make us as fans feel like we're not watching the WWE, which is sports entertainment, but we're watching true competition. So my question to you is this. That was my comment. Now, whether you want to put on your GM hat here, your future GM hat, or you just want to talk about a sports fan, are we really saying that what we want to see from our athletes in terms of sound bites are guys that are preserving the integrity of the game? So if, for example, a quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, walks out and has that play like he did to end the game, was it against the Bills, where Mike Evans ran the wrong route?
Mike Williams,
Mike Williams, sorry, Mike Evans. Mike Williams runs the wrong route, and Rodgers gets up and he's like this, hey, I'm going to tell you what I think. This guy did this wrong. This guy did this wrong. This guy did this wrong, whatever it is. Do we want that? Do we want players getting up on a press stand and saying, hey, I'm dissatisfied with this organization. Yeah, I've made no secret. I'm not going to report to camp for them. Or they're franchise tagging me. I'm going to walk out. Or do we want guys that are up there, while they might feel that or might be saying things behind closed doors, are saying, you know what, like I made the wrong read on that, or I underthrew that ball, or
Mhm.
that's on me.
Mhm.
The whatever we would expect to be the highbrow comment, whether it's a receiver, a
Mhm.
coach, or whoever. Do we want to see guys calling their whole team soft,
Mhm.
saying our whole entire team is soft? What do you prefer as a fan or as a general manager? Are you looking for the soundbite, or do you want to see everything where it's just preserving the integrity?
What I want to see is if you don't want to be here, if you have an issue with us as the organization, don't pretend that you don't. You can say that. But I don't think an athlete should ever go out of their way to the media and throw their teammate under the bus. I mean, that's your teammate. You're not going against him. There's no competition between you. You're working together to try to win. So, what value does Aaron Rodgers telling the media, "Oh, Mike Williams ran the wrong route," except for get some heat off Aaron Rodgers? Now it's like, "Oh, it wasn't his fault," and he can relax. That's not what I want. You gotta have accountability, and even if it wasn't your fault, say there was some miscommunication. You don't need to go out there and say he ran the wrong route.
Mhm.
That makes it seem like, oh, so why am I supposed to think that these guys like each other, that they're gonna be teammates, that they're really gonna trust each other to win a game? And Mike Williams, obviously with the Devontae thing, is basically done. Uh, I don't think a teammate should ever go out of their way to throw a teammate under the bus. I think you should try to lift your teammates up because at the end of the day you have the same goal, uh, and you're just if the blame's on you and it's unfair, you might just have to eat that
Mhm.
week and then because I think it's ridiculous. I think Aaron Rodgers he does this sometimes, and people say he fired the coach. I don't know if he fired the coach. I can't say if he did or didn't. But calling out your teammate saying he did this wrong, is just kind of ridiculous.
And I agree, and I think that it's interesting because what we're talking about really is a shift or the future of sports, where now if you're a seventh or eighth grade basketball player, football player, baseball player, soccer player, you're coming up, and from the moment you go to college, you could start monetizing
Mm-hmm.
on who you are. So we're almost telling athletes, hey, stand out. If you stand out, you get paid more.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering how that's going to continue to impact sports when you get players that refuse to report, like say for example Hassan Reddick, who
Mm-hmm.
gets fined millions of dollars, but then the Jets say, hey, we really need to win right now, we really need everything, so we're going to waive your fines, come back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what lessons are we teaching? And man, it makes me sound old.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, I also recognize that if there aren't things that are really kind of protecting the integrity of the game,
Mm-hmm.
that we do run a slippery slope of just watching, a bunch of, everything just being essentially, for lack of a better term, just players playing
Mm-hmm.
for money. Like, why even need to win a championship if you're getting, hundreds of millions of dollars to play on a second-rate team, and just
Mm-hmm.
kind of put your stats in.
I think it's about what kind of players you want on your team. Going back to the Bill Russell or Wilt, you want the Bill Russells, the guy who actually cares for the sport and wants to win.
Hmm.
They care about winning. I think if you look at those athletes, guys who talk about winning, they want to win. Those are the guys you want on your team. The other guys who are just trying to maximize their value, get everyone talking about them. I don't know if those are the guys you want on your teams. Do I want this guy who doesn't really care about winning
Hmm.
on my team? Like, I don't care if you're a receiver. Talk about AJ Brown. AJ Brown complains about the ball for the ball all the time.
Hmm.
I don't like it. But I have no issue with having AJ Brown on my team because he complains for the ball because he wants to win. He
Right.
doesn't complain for the ball because he needs the ball. He knows that the best thing for his team is to get him the ball. He's not so like if he wasn't getting the ball, he's not going to sit out.
Yeah.
I don't like the kind of players I want on my team is the people. If you're asking for a contract, cool. Don't you're not sitting out though. You're going out there and you're playing.
Right.
And I can't see, and it has worked in the past. I mean, I don't want to call it Odell Beckham. Was on a Super Bowl winning team. Was he a star? Was he getting paid a bunch of money? No. You don't have to have all these players who want to win, but I think you got to build a team around guys who care for the sport and care about winning more than they care about the money that they make in their statistics.
Yeah. So then, is it a coincidence, if we're staying on football, for example, that the mantle of Manning, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady now appears to be going to the guy that appears to be currently the most hungry player in the NFL to win, which is Pat Mahomes,
Mhm.
and the most fiery guy. So are we seeing that? We're seeing the teams that are the teams that seem to have some sort of longevity have a couple of those team first
Mhm.
players at the top. Like I love. I mean, I'd be hard pressed to find many NFL teams right now that wouldn't want Dan Campbell as their head coach.
Mhm. Exactly. Yeah.
And you need that accountability team first up front if you're trying. I think if you're trying to win championships,
Mhm.
winning championships and selling tickets or putting fans in the stands sometimes can be different.
Mhm.
You can have high powered offenses or flashy players that people want to come out and see them make a highlight reel kind of a thing, but the teams that win, like you look at the Chiefs right now. What's Mahomes, 6 touchdowns and 8 picks or something like
Yeah.
that?
He's not throwing touchdowns.
Right, but
Doesn't matter. They're winning.
they're winning exactly.
And I don't think the funny thing about this, I think if you ask anyone who the best quarterback in football is, you look at a few people who say Lamar Jackson,
Yeah.
which is not true. The best quarterback is Pat Mahomes. I think in the playoffs, there's no player you want more than Pat Mahomes. And I don't like Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of his just because he keeps winning. I do think Pat Mahomes is the right kind of athlete. I think he's cut from the right cloth.
Yeah.
Where he doesn't he at one point he was throwing 50 touchdowns,
Yeah.
but now he's finding he's like I'll throw 25
Yeah.
and we'll win the Super Bowl and then I'm gonna be happy.
Right.
And even though this is going to pain me to say something good about Travis Kelce, I think Travis Kelce's washed. I think he's a clown. I don't like Travis Kelce. I've said that many times. However, it is very respectable how all of last year he was never getting the ball.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it. He was on my fantasy, but he never got the ball. But then when it came to playoffs and they needed him, he said, "Yeah, I'm here." He did he complain? Yeah, he complained. But when you need these players, they'll show up. When you need them to make a play, they'll show up.
Yeah.
And I think there's a reason, at least to me, that wins have the largest value on a legacy of a player or anything more than anything else.
Yeah.
I don't care how many touchdowns you threw as Phillip Rivers, you never won a championship.
Yep.
As opposed to, let's say Mahomes never throws another touchdown in his life and he wins 6 more championships.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to, all that matters, not that all that matters, because there you will have players who, Joe Flacco has a championship. Is he better than Dan Marino?
Right.
Not necessarily, but I think those players who want to win and care about winning, they actually overall the things that the players who don't, what they want, these players kind of garner it from winning.
Right. Yeah, but Flacco was on a more complete team
Mm-hmm.
than Marino ever was, and that was the big problem,
Mm-hmm.
So I was thoroughly enjoying this conversation today with you, my friend. And why don't you guys out there let us know in the comments? We'd love to hear who you feel in your time watching sports is the biggest crybaby that you have you've watched or heard, and also who you feel is the ultimate team guy, ultimate team player across sports. Do you have somebody jumps out to you, my friend? Ultimate team guy?
Just going back to the Celtics, Derek White's that guy.
Derek White. Nice. I like that. I'm probably gonna go with Gary Carter.
Okay.
I'm a Gary Carter
Yeah.
guy. 86
Yeah.
Mets. The last
Yeah.
time. It's the last time the Mets. By the way, though, congratulations to the Mets. I'm going to congratulate you guys. I was hard on you all year, but you know what? You really put out this year. Super excited. Revitalized the whole entire fan base. Very excited about the new commitment to developing within and a commitment to kind of sustain winning. This year, hopefully, we will revamp the starting rotation, clean up the outfield a little bit, and get a little bullpen help, and absolutely re-sign Alonso.
Yeah.
You want him in Boston? Is there a spot for Alonso in Boston? Would you guys be
Not
fighting for him?
really.
Okay,
I'm good with Tristan Casa.
All right, good. So we don't have to worry about Boston swooping in and stealing Alonso from us. But my man, you did an awesome job today. Again, you guys drop some thoughts in the comments below. Let us know how we're doing. Good luck on your fantasy teams this weekend. And if you are an NFL fan, I hope your team loses if you're playing the Dolphins. Kidding. Anybody else? Good luck. All right. See you guys next time.